At the end of the 19th century, Jules Verne and H.G. Wells invented a new form of literature that would later be called science fiction. Readers are taken on spectacular journeys through time and space. Verne describes an expedition into the interior of our planet, where primeval monsters dwell, takes us through the depths of the ocean and travels around the world in 80 days. Wells has humans mutate into giants or helpless dwarfs who are kept as cattle for slaughter by their subterranean rulers. Both writers deal with the fantastic, but in such different ways that they are unmistakable. Jules Verne was enthusiastic about technology and science. They are the main theme of his stories. The characters are merely accessoires. Professor Liedenbrock descends into a volcanic cone in Iceland with his nephew in order to return to daylight on the raft on a search of water in Italy. In 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, it is not the mysterious Captain Nemo who takes center stage, but his huge submarine and the things that float past the portholes. In later works, he would express somewhat more skepticism about the effects of industry and the modern machinery of war. The novels that made him famous are a declaration of love for inventions and testimony to a profound knowledge of the laws of physics. Strange, the heroes of Wells' novels are not particularly interesting either. More like average people who are barely able to cope with the threats they face. But with Wells, there's always a deeper story behind every story. In War of the Worlds, an army of Martians invades Earth and reduces London to rubble. The author's point is that this is what it feels like to be a tribe of African bushmen being proselyted by Europeans with machine guns. The time machine takes the hero 800,000 years into the future to show that humanity does not always have to go upwards, but can also lead back to barbarism. Jules Verne and H.G. Wells are progenitors of the two great traditions of science fiction literature. The Frenchman is the forefather of the so-called technical-utopian novels. In his wake follow countless journeys to alien worlds in which the heroes experience adventures in which they prove themselves. To make these stories entertaining, they have to be plausible and believable. Nobody expects psychological depth from the characters. But readers expect the technical achievements and their effects to be carefully thought through. For H.G. Wells, on the other hand, his adventures in the future are merely an excuse to reflect on man and his place in the world. A wonderful example. In the 1899 novel When the Sleeper Wakes, the existence of the television is predicted. So far so good. Jules Verne could also have foreseen this invention. But only an H.G. Wells could have predicted that television would show stupid and trivial stuff. Let's compare how both writers describe a journey to the moon. Jules Verne's three adventurers are launched into space with a projectile from a 1,000-meter-long cannon. On board their vehicle, equipped with plush armchairs, they realize that their take-off speed has been slowed down by air resistance and that they will probably crash back to Earth. The discovery of their miscalculation came as a thunderclap. The moon travelers looked at each other in dismay. Arden grumbled, "Bloody science! I'd give 20 gold pieces if we were to fall directly on the arithmetically weak heads of the Cambridge astronomers." "We are not falling," shouted Barbicane. "We are already over 200,000 kilometers away from Earth, and therefore past the point where we should have to come to a standstill." "There's only one explanation for that," said Nickel. "The 400,000 pounds of gun cotton must have hurled us into space faster than 11,000 meters per second." Now we follow Mr. Bedford on his journey. He had to leave his companion behind on the moon and now returns to Earth alone in his space ball. I couldn't possibly explain the things that were going on in my mind. The most striking feature was the doubt about my own personality. If I may put it that way, I detached myself from the being called Bedford. I looked down upon this Bedford as a creature with whom I was connected only by chance. I had a sort of idea that I was a being quite outside space and time, and this poor Bedford was nothing more than a keyhole through which I was looking at life. Even if Jules Verne's late novels are more pessimistic and gloomy, the books that made him world famous are the origin of technical-utopian literature, while H.G. Wells' works are always aware of the danger lurking in man and his achievements.